Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel of Bethel Evangelical Free Church Hanley. I'm Pastor Gervais Charmley. This is another video on Derbyshire churches, and this is the beautiful early 20th century church, the first decade of the 20th century. Foundation stone laid in 1901, completed about 1903. This is the church, this is Christ Church, Holloway. It's quite common in that period to find churches that are just Christ Church. And it's a great example of this rather muscular early 20th century Gothic. It's got elements of arts and crafts. I'm very grateful to the folk at the church who have put the lights on for me so we can have a good look around. So let's do that. So as usual, we start at the west end, at the liturgical back of the church, where people come in. And the first thing we see looking west is we've got a central tower. There's a tower between the nave and the chancel, and that tower basically acts as the choir. It's where the choir stalls are. There's a nice font at the back, nice bit of alabaster. And here is the foundation stone, 2nd of November 1901. We have here Private John Dawes of Holloway, 3rd Grenadier Guards, killed in action, Belmont, South Africa, November 23rd, 1899, aged 22 years. That's South African War, but around the walls we have carved the names of those who died in the 1914-18 War, the Great War. And here memorialise the first vicar, Francis Windley, who was vicar 1900 to 1906. And the roll of honour, everyone who served in the war. And so you've got the names, and just one name followed by the unit and where they were killed. You'll notice there's no plaster on the walls, just this panelling on the lower part. And this is quite typical of that period. It's fairly rough stonework, but again it's deliberate. And really nice pulpit. I like that pulpit. Nice and impressive, shall we say. Vestries back here, nave altar, so people don't have to go quite so far, don't have to come up the steps, because older folk do find these communion steps difficult. There's the organ, that's a memorial to those who were killed in the Second World War. And we've got William Colin Eugene Broom, Head Flight Sergeant Pilot, RAF VR, that's Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve, Fleckfjord, 2nd of September 1941, that's the intervention in Norway. Arthur James Bush, Able Seaman RN at sea off Birkenhead. Michael Gervais Ham, Sergeant Pilot, RAF VR, Holloway, so he's killed in a crash. 1940. Private Stanley Newton, Pioneer Corps, Rise, 17th of June 1944. And Mothers Union banner, very typical, really nice reredos. The east window, obviously the lights on inside, it's a bit less easy to see it, but it's a nice early 20th century, again related to the First World War. Eagle lectern, and we've then got here the Sedilia, and again we've got Forsters who were killed in the Second World War, one Liberator, another the Anzio Beachhead. So, and we look all the way west. Great barn of a place, isn't it? But that's quite normal for these early 20th century buildings. There's a certain confidence, but also there's this, we want this building to make sense. Now, if it's all of a piece, it's all of a piece. And there's a simplicity to this building. Now, Christ Church very often indicates an evangelical incumbent at the time. So, it's a most impressive piece of architecture. And yes, early 20th century, 1900s, it's a good period for this kind of place. So move all the way here to the west end, and we have the door at the back, and there's a porch on the outside, of course, that lovely font. So now we'll go outside and have a look at that. And so here we are outside, and again, big building, big central tower, very impressive stonework. We'll have a look around and point out the salient features. Of course, not a lot of history, because it's 1903 it's finished. In 1901 it gets started. So this is 120 years old. It makes me feel old to talk about something from 1900 being more than 100 years old, but there we are. And so here we are looking up at the central tower, and yes, that is the time. 4:15. It's supposed to close at 4, but I managed to, very kindly, the key holder said that keep it open a little bit longer so I can finish this video. So round, you can't go round the east end, so we'll go around the west end, and you can see here that up the stairs here to the door, and having gone to the door, then can progress around the building. And very useful parish room is underneath the church, because it's built into the side of a hill like this, which is a really good idea. There we are, parish room, so meeting room underneath, so it's an over and under. And there's the scout hut here. So quite a constricted site. There's no burial ground here, just a big early 20th century church. And so there we have it. Christ Church, Holloway, a beautiful example of the church architecture of the beginning of the 20th century. There's a certain confidence these buildings have that is no longer reflected, and of course the Great War, which is commemorated inside, is a great hit for Britain, and it's a great hit for the churches, because many of the men who would have been notable workers were the men who went out to war and never came back. And also where you had a situation where faith and patriotism were too closely linked. Very often what could happen would be that people would go out, they'd see the horrors of war, and they hadn't been prepared for it. They've been prepared for quite a different view of war, that the Great War just so different. Nevertheless, there was some slight confidence. They came back, and yet the world they came back to was changed, and the land fit for heroes that people spoke of never came to be. Well, thank you for watching. It's a lovely building, and it's great to be able to have a look around and look at it with the lights on, because without the lights on it's very gloomy in there. So thank you for watching, and may God bless you and keep you until next time.